Hello everyone, welcome back to the lecture series for NATA and JEE-2 preparation. Today on day 2, we will be looking into the topic of color theory. As you are aware, we are doing this lecture series of NATA and JEE-2 preparation on this YouTube channel along a course of 51 days. We already have started with day 1. The lecture will go on till day 51 and will cover the entire syllabus in these 51 days. So today's lecture on day 2, we will be looking into the topic of color theory. So let me start with the topic, but before that let me give you an overview as to what exactly is the overall module structure and where we are on day 2 as far as today's lecture is considered. You can go through a separate video, a complete explanation video for the full structure is already on this same YouTube channel. You can have a look at it, but to just give you an overview, we are doing this lecture series in 51 days in a course of 8 modules. You can see 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. In these 8 modules we will cover the 51-day course, and today we are still in day 1, module number 1. Module number 1 is basics of design. Basics of design module 1 will be a 4-day long lecture, day 1 till day 4. Today we are in day 2, that is color theory topic. So that's about the position where we are with respect to the overall syllabus. So before we start with, so I will tell you what are the topics we are covering under color theory, how is it important from NATA and JEE point of view. We will discuss these points, but before all that, let us try to understand what exactly is color theory. Color theory is basically aspects or concepts related to use of color. Now, why should you learn about use of color? Or what is the importance of it? So first let us try to get an understanding on that. What is the use of color theory, or why should you study about color theory? You are preparing for competitive examinations in the field of design, in the field of architecture. Now anyone in the field of creative thinking, anyone in the field of design should have the knowledge of use of color, different types of color and how to use them. For example, you can see there is red font. Red font is written on a blue background over here, red font is written on a green background over here. So the way you look at it is not same. The color or the color of the font also affects, or the way you feel it also depends on the background. So the relation between background and the font you write on it, because when you prepare any design, if you're creating or using something on some background, you should understand the relation of the color, the object and its background's color. Not only that, you also will need to know about color psychology. Generally, if you look at the symbols of danger or say fire, you generally see them in red color. Why? Because red is something which is we also studied under the visual weight concept of principles of design in the day 1 lecture. If you remember, that red has very high weight, visually it is a heavy color, right? So that's the reason we use it for danger symbol as well. So that is color psychology. If you use a color, how does it impact psychology? Not only that, what should be the combination? So if you look at this building, random colors are used together in this building. So the use of color is not adding to the beauty of the building. In this example, if you see, so if you use your colors correctly, your building or the aesthetic quality of the building also becomes better. So not only for architects who design buildings, design or understanding color is important for everyone who is in the field of creative thinking and design. So that is the introduction to with respect to what is the importance of color theory. Let us now get into the details of what we cover in this lecture. But before that, what questions you get in NATA examination, or why is it important to study color theory from NATA and JEE point of view? So I've put a question over here. This is from previous NATA. It's a question from previous NATA, where you can see a picture is given, a color combination composition using color is given, and then you find options A, B, C, D, so on till I, and you have to select any 4 correct options from this. So this is a NATA question. You get such MSQ, multiple select question, which are very important, and scoring also, because they are 3-mark questions. So you have to select by looking at this picture. Does it have highlight? Does it have depth represented? Does it have contrast in it, color contrast? So you have to look at the composition and identify what features are seen. How can you answer these questions? Only when you know the concepts of color theory. What is color contrast, or what are the various aspects of color? You need to understand that, only then you can answer such questions. Not only that, from JEE point of view also you get such questions. For example, this one, if you see over here, this is a previous JEE question. Design an appropriate pattern for a curtain for a small girl's room. Draw and color it. So you have to create a pattern for the Curtain of a small girl's room. So firstly you need to know what color is suitable for curtain. Then you need to identify or know what color is suitable for a small girl's room. So using appropriate color, creating appropriate patterns also is important to score marks in JEE examination. One more example is shown over here. You can color, so basically in the space provided, draw an aesthetic composition using only rectangles. There is no restriction on the number and sizes of the rectangles. Color the composition to create visually exciting patterns. You have to know what color combination is suitable to create visually exciting pattern. However, you will study, you have separate lectures on sketching and composition. Moving on, you can see in this module structure over here, which I already showed. You can see the sketching and composition, the last module, module 8. So there you will learn how to create compositions using the concepts of color theory. As far as this lecture is considered, here we are looking into an introductory aspect of what is color theory, what are the various aspects of color theory, how to implement them and how to use them in sketching. You have a separate module on that, and this lecture will help you answer the 3-mark questions in the NATA examination, which is very crucial to get good marks in the NATA exam. So with that, let me first introduce you to the overview of the lecture. What are the points we will be covering? First and foremost, we will look into the concept of color wheel. So there's something called as a color wheel, where colors are represented on a circular wheel pattern. So we'll start with that, where we focus on understanding primary, secondary and tertiary colors. So color wheel and understanding. So color wheel is representing colors on a circle, and then understanding what are primary, secondary and tertiary colors. That is point number 1. Second point we will be covering is the terminologies related to color theory, where we'll study about various terms used in color theory like hue, saturation, tint, shade and tone. We will look into what are all these terms, because you get questions in NATA and also JEE on what is a tint, what is a shade, what is a tone. You need to know these technical terms used in color theory. That is second point. Third aspect we will be looking into in today's lecture is understanding the color schemes. That is number 3. Color schemes is there are various types of color schemes. Some examples are shown here: monochromatic, triadic, analogous, etc. So color schemes are basically using color composition. So if you are using 2 or 3 colors, which colors to select, how to select color combinations in designs. So that is basically based on the color schemes. And then you have the fourth aspect, which is color psychology, where we look into the aspect of what are warm colors, what are cool colors, and what are the psychological aspects of use of various colors. That is number 4. Finally, number 5, we will look into previous NATA and JEE questions for practice, so that from whatever we have learned, you need to understand what questions are actually asked in the examination, or which type of questions are asked. So towards the end, we will practice some previous NATA and also JEE questions at the end. So this is the overview of the lecture or structure which we are following in this particular lecture for today on day 2. So let me start firstly by discussing the concept of color wheel. I already told you what is color wheel. Color wheel, or to be more specific, the basic color wheel which we use in design or in architecture is a 12-part color wheel. 12-part color wheel is basically a circular wheel which is representing various colors. How many colors? 12 colors, because it has 12 parts on it. It's a 12-part color. So there are 12 colors represented on it. All of these 12 colors, 3 colors are called as primary colors. 3 are primary colors. And the next 3 are secondary colors. And the remaining 6 are tertiary colors. So under color wheel, you need to, before we start with the concept of color wheel, you need to understand this, that a color wheel is a circular representation of 12 colors. Of those 12 colors, 3 colors are primary colors, 3 colors are secondary colors, and 6 colors are tertiary colors. Now what is primary? What are primary colors? What are secondary colors? What are tertiary colors? Which 3 colors are primary? You will need to remember all these points. You get questions in both NATA and also JEE from this part. We'll discuss all those points, but for now just remember the classification, the number, that is 3, 3, 6. The total is 12. 3 primary, 3 secondary, 3 3 primary, 3 secondary and 6 tertiary. Total overall you get 12 colors in the color wheel. So that is the distribution which you have to remember with respect to color wheel. So let me start firstly by telling you what are the 3 primary colors. So we'll first study primary, then look into secondary colors, and then we'll look into tertiary colors, and then we'll look at the overview of the color wheel together, right? Starting with the primary colors. The 3 primary colors of the 12-part color wheel are red, yellow and blue. So why do we call these as primary colors? These are termed as primary colors because these cannot be created by mixing. Any other colors of the 12-part color wheel other than these three, the remaining 9 colors can be obtained by mixing these 3 colors. So for example, if I ask you create green, how can you create green? By mixing yellow and blue. If I ask you create violet, how can you create violet? By mixing red and blue. So you can create them by mixing. If I ask you create orange, how can you create orange? By mixing red and yellow. If you take some red paint and yellow paint, mix it, you will get orange paint. If you take blue paint and some yellow paint and mix them, you will get green paint. So similarly, any other color on the color wheel can be obtained by mixing other than these three. So these three are the primary. So that's the reason. What is primary? First, primary colors are those which are not obtained by mixing. So primary colors of the color wheel, you need to remember two things. Number one, what is the meaning of primary colors? These are the colors of a color wheel which cannot be obtained by mixing. Which cannot be obtained by mixing. That is point number one. Under the heading primary colors of color wheel, write down point number one. What are primary colors? Colors of a color wheel which cannot be obtained by mixing are primary colors. Are primary colors. That is point number one. Now point number two. So red, yellow and blue are the primary colors. Point number two is, what are those three colors? Red, yellow and blue. Red, yellow and blue. That is point number two. Point number three, out of the 12-part color wheel, so these three are primary colors. What are the remaining number of colors? 9. All the remaining 9 colors can be obtained from these three primary colors itself. So that is point number three. The remaining 9 colors of the color wheel, remaining 9 colors of the color wheel can be obtained by mixing the primaries, or you can write by mixing the primary colors, right? So the remaining 9 colors of the color wheel can be obtained by mixing the primary colors. So that is point number 3. So that is the reason these are called as primary colors. So 3 points to be remembered. Point number 1, primary colors are those which cannot be obtained by mixing. These are the basic requirement which you need to create the remaining all colors of the color wheel. Point number 2, red, yellow and blue are the primary colors of the color wheel. Point number 3, the remaining 9 colors of the color wheel other than red, yellow and blue, everything can be obtained by mixing these three primaries itself in some definite proportions, in defined definite proportions. So these are the 3 points to be remembered under the first heading, that is primary colors of the color wheel. So we completed, I told you the number, 12-part color wheel, 3, 3 and 9. So 3, 3 and 6, 3 primaries, 3 secondaries and 6 tertiaries. So 3 primaries, we have completed the 3 points under it. Let us now move on to the second point, that is understanding secondary colors. Secondary colors are basically obtained by mixing primary colors. What are, so first point number 1, what are secondary colors? Secondary colors are obtained by mixing two primaries or two primary colors in equal proportion. So that's the meaning of secondary color. What are secondary colors? Secondary colors are obtained by mixing primary colors in equal proportion. Now many teachers or many people, even many teachers also, miss out this point of equal proportion. It is very important to understand 2 points here in the definition of secondary colors. Firstly, secondary colors are obtained by mixing primary colors. So how do you get orange? By mixing red and yellow. How do you get green? By mixing yellow and blue. How do you get violet? By mixing blue and red. So take two primaries and mix them. You will get the tertiary colors. Many people stop at that point. Okay, mix two primaries, you will get secondary. But it should be in equal proportion. That is also a key word here. So take two primaries and mix them in equal quantity, you will get secondary colors. I cannot say I will take a lot of red and put just 2 or 3 drops of yellow into it. Will I get orange? No. You have to take equal quantity, equal proportion of red and yellow. If I want to create green paint, I will take equal amount of yellow and blue. I cannot take a lot of yellow and put 3 or 4 drops of blue and get green out of it. You will not get green in that case, right? So to create secondary colors, we take equal proportion of primary colors. That is point number 1. Point number 2, what are the 3 secondary colors? I told you the number again, 3, 3, 6. 3 primaries we have done, 3 secondaries are orange, green and violet. So that is point number 2 which you have to make a note of. Orange, green and violet. These are the 3 secondary colors of the color wheel. Secondary colors. So that is second point, make a note of it. What are the 3 secondary colors? Orange, green and violet. And remember this point as well. Red plus yellow will give you orange. Yellow plus blue will give you green. Blue plus red will give you violet. These questions can also be asked directly in the exam. This question in fact was asked 3 times in NATA and JEE already. What do you get by mixing blue and red? You will get violet, or which is also called as purple. Violet or purple terms are interchangeably used generally. So violet or purple is the color which is obtained by mixing blue and red in equal quantities, right? So remember the secondary colors and how do you get them. That is the stage number 2 or second point. Now moving to the next point, that is tertiary colors, the remaining 6 colors of the color wheel. So we discussed already about the 6 colors of the color wheel. What are they? 3 primaries, that is red, yellow, blue. 3 secondaries, that is orange, green, violet. The remaining 6 colors of the color wheel are called as tertiary colors. The third point is tertiary colors. Now what are tertiary colors? Tertiary colors are those 6 colors of the color wheel which are obtained by mixing one primary and one secondary, right? So tertiary colors are basically the 9 colors of the color wheel which are obtained 9 colors of the color wheel which are obtained by mixing the 9 colors of the color wheel which are obtained by mixing one primary and one secondary color. Obtained by mixing one primary and one secondary color. So that's the first point under tertiary colors. The 6 colors of the color wheel, not 9. So there are 6. Just a second. The 6 colors of the color wheel which are obtained by mixing one primary and one secondary are called as tertiary colors. So the number is 336. 3 primaries we already discussed, red, yellow, blue. 3 secondaries we already discussed, that is orange, green and violet. Now take one primary and one secondary, you will mix them, you will get tertiary colors in equal quantities, again in equal proportion here also. So if you see indirectly, even though you are mixing one primary and one secondary here, even though you're mixing one primary and one secondary color, the tertiary colors also are being generated from primary colors itself. Why? How do you create? For example, we will first look into an example. What are the tertiary colors? The names are yellow, orange. How do you get yellow, orange? By mixing yellow and orange together, right? So firstly, say this is yellow and this is orange. By mixing yellow and orange, you get yellow orange in between that, right? So that's one tertiary color. So orange is a secondary color, yellow is a primary color, so you're taking one primary and one secondary color. So by mixing that, you're getting the tertiary color. This is primary, this is secondary, and you're getting the tertiary color out of it. Now, if you indirectly, even though you are using secondary color, indirectly we are using only primaries here. Why? Because orange itself is derived, or how do you get orange itself? By mixing yellow and red. So this is yellow and red is over here. This is primary again, right? So by mixing yellow, so if you look into the color wheel, this part, only this, focus on this part, take yellow, that is primary, red, that is primary, mix them in equal quantities, you will get orange in between over here. Red and yellow will give you orange. Now mix yellow and orange, you'll get yellow orange. If you mix red and orange, red is a primary, orange is a secondary, and you'll get red orange over here. This is red orange and this is yellow orange. So the names of the tertiary colors are combined by using the names of the primary and secondaries, right? So remember, always the name of a tertiary color will have two parts. The first part will be the name of the primary color used. Second part will be name of the secondary color used. So yellow orange is obtained by mixing the yellow, which is a primary color, and orange, which is a secondary color. If you take red, the primary color, and orange, the secondary color, mix them, you will get red orange. Similarly, you can create red violet. Red is a primary color, violet is a secondary color. Mix them in equal quantities, you will get red violet. Blue violet, again, blue is a primary color, violet is a secondary color. Mix them in equal quantities, you will get blue violet, which is a tertiary color. Yellow green also similarly, yellow is a primary color, green is a secondary color. Mix them in equal quantities, you'll get yellow green, which is a tertiary color, right? So take a primary, and if you mix two primaries, you'll get secondary. If you mix one primary and one secondary, you will get a tertiary color. So that's what you have to remember. And always remember, tertiary color's name is obtained, or the name is represented with the first part, that is primary's name, second part, which is the secondary's name. So that is about the tertiary colors. Now let us recall the 3 points, the three types of colors of the color wheel very quickly. As I told you, the number, the classification of the types of the colors of the 12-part color wheel. Color wheel has 12 parts, or 12-part color wheel. Of that, there are three categories: 3, 3, and 6. The first three are primary colors, which are red, yellow, and blue. The next three are secondary colors, which are green, orange, and violet. And the remaining 6 are tertiary colors, which are obtained by mixing one primary and one secondary. You can look into this picture. Red, yellow, and blue are the primary colors. By mixing red and yellow, you get orange, which is a secondary color. By mixing red and blue, you get violet, which is a secondary color. By mixing yellow and blue in equal quantities, you get a green color, which is secondary color again. Now by mixing one primary and one secondary, you get these tertiary colors. If you're mixing this primary yellow, this secondary green, you get yellow green over here. So always the tertiary's name will have primary and then the secondary part of it. So if you look into this tertiary color, for example, over here, if I ask you what is the name of this, what primary is used over here? Red. Red is the name of the primary used. What secondary is used over here? The secondary used over here is orange. So the name of this tertiary color will be red orange, right? Always the secondary colors are obtained by mixing one primary and one secondary. Let us look into one more example. Let us see this tertiary color over here. What is the name of this tertiary color? There should be one primary and one secondary. So the primary used here is blue. The secondary used over here is violet. So what will be the name of this tertiary? It will be blue violet, right? So one primary, one secondary, mix it in equal proportions, you get tertiary. So that is something which you have to remember about the 12-part color wheel. It will be very good if you can practice this. Try to draw if you have the set of colors with you, try to create them. Take 3 color tubes, say acrylic colors or any other poster colors also, whichever you have, poster colors or acrylic colors. Take the 3 primaries, that is red, yellow, and blue, and mix them in equal proportions to create the secondaries, and draw on that circle. First draw red, paint on red, yellow, and blue at equal distances. Then mix red and yellow and you draw orange in center of it. Take red and green and draw violet in between them. Take yellow and blue and draw green between them, and then draw the tertiary colors by mixing one primary and one secondary. Do this exercise and draw it on a piece of paper for your self practice. With that, you will get 100% clarity on the 12-part color wheel. So that would be a good assignment for your self study as well. So we have discussed about the color wheel, and I also gave you the notes. You are maintaining your own running notes already. I also asked you to do one exercise. In addition to these exercises, the lecture series, in addition to the practice, and in addition to the notes which you're making, if you also want some additional study resources which are available for free, you can download our KP Classes app. So on Play Store, you can just search for KP Classes NATA, and you can find our mobile application. You can identify it by this logo, which you can also see on my t-shirt, or you can see on the board on the corner of the screen. So that will be the logo. By looking to that logo, because there are some other KP classes which are not authentic also. So download the authentic correct KP Classes app with this particular logo. When you download and install the app and also sign up into it, on the left hand side of the screen you will find these three horizontal bars. If you click on those three horizontal bars on the top hand left corner of the mobile application, you will get the drop down of the side tray. The side tray will drop out, and in that, under the second point, you have study material. So click on that second point, that is study material, and there you will find the free study resources for this lecture series, the 51-day lecture series. For each day there is some study resource which is already uploaded in the study material tab. So access those in addition to the lecture. Watch this lecture, make your own running notes, download KP Classes app, and check the free study resources provided over there for your self assessment and self preparation for NATA and also JEE examination. That will be really helpful, and it is, as it is available in a well structured manner, it will be really useful for your preparation. Moving further, so we completed the part of color wheel, the 12-part color wheel, and the three types of it: three primaries, three secondaries, six tertiary colors. We already discussed all those points. Moving on to the next aspect, that is color terminologies. What are some important terms and concepts used with respect to colors? Let us try to understand those terms. First, importantly, the three terms which are used in color theory are hue, saturation, and lightness or brightness. Any color, when you represent it in any design, you have to adjust three parameters of it: hue, saturation, lightness or brightness. So let us first try to understand what is hue. You can see over here, this is the 12-part color wheel, right? The 12 parts, the 12 different colors, three primaries, three secondaries, six tertiaries, all these are called as hues. Now what is a hue? Hue is basically a different color. Any, say for example, red and green, if you're able to identify, you're able to perceive it as different color. Why? The perception of different colors is because of hue, right? If you look at the saturation and lightness or brightness, it is almost like a monochromatic. There is no change in the perception. This complete band is between black and red, right? So that is saturation is different. It talks about the purity of the color, but hue basically is the change in perception of a color. If you're looking at this band here, it is red, then the perception changes to yellow, then the perception changes to green, then the perception changes to cyan over here, then the perception changes to blue, then violet, and then pink and red. So there's a change in perception of the spectrum. So hue is basically the change in perception of a color. Change in perception of a color. Change in perception of a color is called as hue. So red is a different hue, purple is a different hue, say green is a different hue. So perception, change in perception of a color is hue. That is first important. So any color, to define it, you first need to know what hue it is, right? So that is point number one. Saturation, second point is, saturation is also called as purity of the color. This is also called as purity of the color. Saturation is basic. You can just write down what is saturation. It is simply nothing but purity of a color. First, what is hue? You write down the definition of what is hue. Change in perception of a color is called as hue. Change in perception of a color is called as hue. Saturation is basically purity of a color. Saturation is purity of a color. So if you see 0% purity, you don't see any red over here. As the purity increases, it becomes more refined and refined, and you reach to red over here. So this is basically the saturation of red. Similarly, you can have saturation of all different hues. You can have saturation of green, you can have saturation of yellow. So purity of a color, how pure it is or how impure it is, that band is called as saturation. Saturation or purity is sometimes also known as chroma. You can remember all these terms: chroma, saturation, purity. All the three are same. So chroma, purity, saturation talks about how pure a color is. Moving on to the third important aspect. So there are three terms I told you: hue, saturation, lightness or brightness. So the third aspect, which is lightness or brightness, this is also called as value of a color. Value of a color will basically tell you how bright or how dark it is. It talks about the contrastingness. So this is very dark over here. As you move over here, it is becoming light and brightness is increasing. So that scale of brightness is called as value of a color. So the three aspects of three terms used in color theory. So if you change these parameters, you can create any color in the universe. So for example, if I ask you, if I say red, is red only a single color? No, red is just a hue. Within that hue, you can create different levels of purity. You can create different levels of brightness. If you're creating 100% bright red, that will be different. If you're creating a dark version of red, that will be different. So any color, any hue, you can change its purity, you can change its brightness and get different levels of perception or different colors out of it, right? So take a hue, change its saturation and brightness, and you can get alternative colors also. So basically these are the terms associated with generating different colors. So what are the three terms we discussed over here under color terminologies? First, number one, we discussed is hue. Hue, I told you, is defined as the change in perception of a color. Second point we discussed is saturation, and I told you saturation is also called as purity of the color, or it is also known as chroma of the color. It talks about how pure a color it is. It is basically relating to purity of the color. And the third term we discussed is value of the color, which is also called as lightness or brightness. So that's the third term. Hue, value and chroma. These are the terms which you have to remember. Take a hue and change its value and chroma, or change its saturation and brightness. You can generate different colors or different spectrum within that given hue. So that is about the three important terms. Now moving further, there are three more terms which you need to understand, which basically relates to the brightness. How to change the lightness or darkness of a color, how to change the value of a color. It is generally done by mixing white or by mixing gray or by mixing black. So if you mix white into a color, there's a term different, there's a different term to it. If you're mixing black into a color, there's a different term to it. So let us try to understand those terms as well. That is tint, tone and shade. So let us try to understand what is tint, tone and shade. Tint is basically any color mixed with different levels of whiteness into it. So if you take a color and mix white into it, you get tints of it. If I ask you on a piece of paper, draw the tints of green. How can you draw tints of green? You need to take green, first draw the green without any white in it, mix some white into it, you will get the next shade of next level of green into it. If you keep on increasing the level of whiteness into it, you will get the complete spectrum. All those spectrum are referred to as tints of the color. So tint is basically any color mixed with white. Similarly, any color mixed with gray is called as tone. So remember what is tint. Any color mixed with white will generate tints of a color. If I ask you generate the tones of a color, you need to make gray into it. Any color mixed with gray into it in different levels will give you the various tones of a color. If I ask you draw the shades of red, you need to mix black into it. So any color mixed with levels of blackness into it will give you shade. So tint, tone and shade. So first you need to understand what is hue, saturation, lightness or brightness. Those are the first three terms. Then you need to understand tint, tone and shade. Tint is color plus white, tone is color, any color plus gray, any color plus black is called as shade. So in NATA examination, sometimes you get in questions on identifying the various tints of a color. We'll practice some questions towards the end. There was a previous NATA question in which you need to identify various tints of a color also. So you need to know what is tint, tone and shade. Sometimes you can get direct theory questions also. What is a color? Any color mixed with gray is called as dash of the color. It's called as tone of the color. So remember these 6 points: hue, saturation, lightness or brightness, tint, tone and shade. These are the 6 terms we discussed under the terminologies of color theory. So we have discussed about the color wheel, the three types, the primary, secondary and tertiary colors, and then we also looked into the aspect of the terminologies, the 6 terms with 6 important terms used in color theory. That brings us to the most important part of the lecture, that is understanding the color schemes. What are color schemes? Basically, combination of colors. Combination of colors is combination of colors. So using color combinations is called as color schemes. If I ask you create a painting using 2 colors, or say if I ask you draw a building on a background, take a piece of paper, draw a color which is the background and draw a building on it which should look clearly. Or if I ask you design a t-shirt, put a KP logo on it, and that KP logo should stand out, so you should create contrast over there, right? So color schemes are basically combination of colors. If I say if I put this red color logo on an orange t-shirt, will the logo stand out? Obviously no. I need to select the color of the shirt in such a way that my logo stands out on it if I'm designing a shirt for a company or so, or a coaching institute, right? So similarly, color schemes are basically compositions of colors which will tell you what should be the selection of colors when you're using multiple colors in any design, be it building design, be it landscape design, be it merchandise design, be it a graphic design, be it UI UX user interface design. Any form of design requires the knowledge of color theory and color combination, so we study about color schemes. So let us look into the details of color schemes with that. So I already told you what is color schemes. Color schemes is nothing but color combinations. There are various types of color combinations which we will study for various purposes. So we'll study one by one and try to understand what are the various names of the color schemes and where do you apply those color schemes. So to just give you an overview, the various color schemes we'll be looking into, there are 6 main or 7 important color schemes, starting with complementary color scheme, analogous color scheme, split complementary color scheme, triadic color scheme, tetratic rectangle color scheme, tetratic square color scheme. This is an overview. So let us go one by one. Let us take complementary colors first, understand what is complementary colors. We'll also look into examples of each of those. Along with examples, we'll try to understand what are the various color schemes. Let us do it one by one, starting with the first one, that is complementary colors. So firstly, looking into complementary colors, from the name itself you understand the colors complement each other. For example, if you look at this painting, the background is red and there are green guavas or green fruits on that red background. If instead of having a red background, if the background also is something like blue, or if the background is something like green itself, will the fruits stand out? Obviously no. Why are those fruits very clearly visible in the painting? Because the background is red, right? So red and green are complementary colors to each other. So what are complementary colors? Complementary colors are basically used to create contrast. So complementary color scheme is used to create color contrast. Where do we require color contrast? When you want an object to stand out on the background. So if you are taking 2 complementary colors, one of the complementary color can be the background, and the second complementary color of that set can be the figure and ground, or figure and background. You know this concept, right? So if you want to draw a figure on a background, you have to select the colors of the figure and the background in a contrasting manner, so that the figure is clearly visible on the background. The figure here is the fruits, they are visible on the background because they're contrasting colors. Contrasting colors are called as complementary colors. So what are complementary color scheme? These are basically the definition. Now first we understood what is the purpose. They are used to create contrasting color scheme, which is generally used to create the figure and the background of it. Now moving to the next point, how do you identify the set of complementary colors? The definition is complementary colors are basically a set of 2 colors, set of 2 diametrically opposite colors on a 12-part color wheel. So the definition of complementary colors are basically set of 2 colors or set of 2 diametrically. What is diametrically? Diameter, you know what is diameter of a circle? Basically the largest chord of a circle is called as diameter. So you can see over here 2 opposite points. If you join any circle, take a point and join the opposite point to it, diametrically opposite, that is called as diameter. Set of 2 diametrically opposite colors Set of two diametrically opposite colors of a color wheel, of a 12-part color wheel. We already studied about the 12-part color wheel. Using that, let us create the composition. So first one, complementary colors, is contrasting color set which is used to create the background and the foreground, and also it is set of two diametrically opposite colors of a 12-part color wheel. Set of two diametrically opposite colors of a 12-part color wheel are complement or is complementary color scheme, is called complementary color scheme. Why do we call them as complementary color scheme? Because they complement each other. Red background is complementing the green fruits, so it is clearly visible. So write down the definition. So write all these points. Point number one, what is the use of complementary color? They are used to create color contrast. Point number two, they are used in the background and the figure generally in any composition. If you are using two colors to create a composition of figures, to select the appropriate background and the color of the figures, you can use complementary color scheme. Point number three, the definition. Set of two diametrically opposite colors of a 12-part color wheel are called as, or this set is called as complementary color scheme. Example, you can look over here. One example I already showed you, red and green. So red and green is opposite to each other, so they're diametrically opposite to each other. That is set of complementary colors. One other complementary set is marked over here, yellow. The diametrically opposite one, that is violet. Yellow and violet can also be a complementary color scheme. So any two diametrically opposite colors will form complementary color scheme. That is point number one. Point number two is analogous colors. The second important color scheme is analogous colors. So first, let us try to understand where do we use it. We use analogous colors to create a uniformity in the picture. If you don't want, so if you see this painting over here, nothing is standing out drastically. Everything assimilates. There is a harmony. There is sort of unity in the painting. Everything is uniform. So to maintain such uniformity in a painting, and if you don't want any color to stand out, that's where we use analogous color scheme. So analogous color scheme will basically give equal weight to all the three colors used in the composition. So analogous color scheme is basically a set of, first let me give the definition of it and then I'll tell you where do we use it. The definition of analogous color scheme is set of three continuous colors. Set of three continuous colors on a 12-part color wheel, on a 12-part color wheel. I'm writing color wheel in short as CW. Set of three continuous colors on a 12-part color wheel is called analogous color scheme. Analogous color scheme. That's point number one. So you can see in this example over here, this is red violet, this is violet, and this is blue violet. The three continuous colors on a 12-part color wheel, red violet, violet and blue violet, they three together will form an analogous color scheme. In this painting also you can see it is basically blue and colors around it itself. So probably blue violet, blue and green blue, right? So these, or say blue green, we don't write it as green blue, right? You first need to write the primary's name, that is blue, and then the secondary's name, that is green. So blue violet, blue and blue green, probably these three colors are used over here creating a uniformity in the painting. Nothing is drastically standing out. If there are some black portions, because they are not within the analogous color scheme, they are standing out, but the remaining part, the ocean, the sky and all, they are uniformly distributed in the painting. Nothing is standing out drastically, so there's no focus as such, right? Drastically. So set of three continuous colors on a 12-part color wheel is called as analogous color scheme. Where do we use it? Where you want equal importance to all the three colors in the composition. This is used to give equal importance, or you can say instead of equal importance, you can probably say to create a uniformity. These are used to create a uniformity in the composition. In the composition. What is the meaning of uniformity here? Nothing standing out drastically. Everything assimilates into each other. all are similar. So in short, you can say they are similar colors. Basically, analogous colors are similar colors. What do we mean by similar? They are close to each other. Blue, blue violet and blue green, they are close to each other, they are similar colors. So set of similar colors which are continuous on a color wheel. This is very important. Set of three continuous, remember the word continuous, three continuous colors on a color wheel. If you are selecting continuous colors, there will be similar colors. Such similar color set is called as analogous color scheme. That is point number 2. So till now we discussed two color schemes: complementary color scheme, which are diametrically opposite colors, which is generally used to create background and the figure pictures. Secondly, analogous color scheme, where we use to create a uniformity in the painting with similar colors, three continuous colors, creating a similarity in the painting. So that is point number 2. Now moving on to the third color scheme. Third color scheme is split complementary color scheme. Now split complementary, if you look into the name, it is similar to complementary. What is complementary? I told you it is used to create opposite colors. Basically, if you're having a red background, green is opposite to it, so green pictures will be very clearly visible. So if you're having two colors in a painting, and if you want to create a background and a figure, we use complementary colors. Split complementary also is a similar point. It is creating contrast, but in complementary we have only two colors. In split complementary we have three colors, right? So let me first write down the definition of split complementary, then you will understand its meaning, or where do we apply it, where do we use it. First let us look into the meaning or the definition of split complementary color scheme. It is basically set of three colors, created using any color, set of three colors created using any color, and two other colors which are on either side of its complementary. Select any color. So any color over here, this is violet, and then look into its opposite color. The opposite color is yellow. Don't select that opposite color, but you have to select the two colors on either side of that yellow. So here you have yellow orange, and here you have yellow green. So yellow green, yellow orange, and this violet over here, these three together will form split complementary. So you're selecting a color and then two other colors which are the either side of its complementary, not the complementary directly, but splitting the complementary. You're taking two colors on either side of its complementary. So write down the definition: set of three colors created using any color, and the two colors on either sides, of its complementary, on a 12-part color wheel, So that is split complementary. So keywords, what are the keywords here? It is set of three colors. Remember, complementary set of two colors, split complementary set of three colors. Set of three colors created using any color. You can select any color from the color wheel, and the two colors which are on either sides of its complementary. So take any color like violet over here, and the two colors on either sides, either as in both sides of its complementary. So these three together will form split complementary color scheme. Now where do we use it? It is also used to create contrast. It is also used to create contrast, but it is composition of three colors. Basically, it is used to create contrast where one color is the background. One color can form the background of the composition, and the remaining two colors can form the figure. So this also is used to create contrast like figure and background, just like how we discussed in the fruits and the red background picture a while ago in complementary. Where do we use complementary? I told you, to create a background and objects, figures on it. Similarly, if you want a background and if you want two colors in the objects, in the figure, if there are two colors, in this example if you see, there is one background, orange background, and on that the pictures, the objects, the figure, they are not using only one color. We want to use two colors. How do we use two colors? By using split complementary. So on any background, if you want to create objects using only one color, you can use complementary color directly. If you're having red background, you can select green objects on it. But here split complementary is used when you want one background and two objects or two colors on it. on if you want 2 colors in the figures of it, then we use the set of 3 colors. So that's the difference between complementary and split complementary. I hope you are able to understand. So if you recall over here, in the complementary, the set of only 2 colors, one background, one color for the figures. But if you want one background and if you want 2 colors in the figures, then you need to select the split complementary. How do you select the split complementary? By splitting the complementary, by selecting both colors on either sides of its complementary. So that is the meaning of split complementary colors. So write down the definition and write its use. Point number 1, it is set of 3 colors which is obtained by selecting any color and 2 colors on either sides of its complementary. That's point number 1. Point number 2, what is its use? It is used to create color contrast in compositions where you want one color to be the background and the remaining 2 colors to create figures on it. So in this example, you can see orange is the background. So we selected orange, probably orange over here, and then split complementary, green and blue, or say violet over here. Violet is selected in this picture. Violet and blue violet are selected, and probably yellow orange is taken as the background. It's not pure orange, it's yellow orange, right? So take any color and split its complementary to get the figures on it. So that is split complementary composition, which is a set of 3 colors which form one background and 2 colors for the figure. So that is about the third important color scheme. So we discussed 3 important color schemes. Contrasting colors are called as complementary colors to create background and figures on it. Analogous colors, which are continuous colors, which are similar colors used to create paintings with uniformity. Third, we discuss split complementary colors, where we use 3 colors to create one background and the remaining 2 colors are used to create figures on that background. So that is about the 3 types of color schemes. Before I move any further, let me briefly introduce you to the additional study resources which you can purchase or have from us at KP Classes. I hope by now you understand about the quality of content which we put into and the efforts we put into to provide you with the premium quality content, be it free study resources, be it the lecture series on YouTube. Everywhere we put in efforts to create the best quality content. So similar quality can be assured in any of our study resources which we provide. You can purchase. If you're preparing for NATA examination, you should seriously consider purchasing the solved paper book, which is a set of past 12 years of solved NATA papers with answer key and detailed explanation, which is available at a very affordable price. You can purchase it directly from Amazon, or you can also purchase it from the KP Classes mobile app which you have already downloaded. If you want to prepare for both NATA and JEE, you can purchase the solved paper book of both NATA and JEE. In this, last 12 years of NATA question papers, last 12 years of JEE question papers, actual question papers with answer key and detailed explanation for each and every question is available. And the best thing is, when you purchase this book, you will not only get the printed form of the solved papers, but you will also get access to additional mock tests for your self practice, which is an exact replica of the actual examination in the same pattern. If you want an even more structured and detailed study of the content, you should consider purchasing a study material set, which is a set of 8 books. Just like how we have 8 modules, like we are doing module number 1 right now, basics of design, where we studied elements and principles of design, color theory, and we'll study logos and symbols also in the next 2 classes. So whatever content we cover in these 4 classes, all that content in the similar structured manner is available in book number 1, which is basics of design. Then we'll look into module number 2. When we do the module number 2, you can study book number 2 for it. So it is in parallel to the module structure which we're following in this lecture series. So do consider purchasing this study material set, which will, once you place this order on the KP Classes app, you will get the printed form of book delivered to your home, and you can study one book by book along with the lectures. Complete module number 1 on the online lecture series, then go through the book. And in this book, you will not only have all the definitions, all the important theory part, and you will not only that, but you will also have practice questions in each and every chapter. So chapter number 1 is principles of design. You'll study all the points of principles of design, and then you will have all the previous NATA and JEE questions from that topic for your self practice. And there are also additional non-NATA JEE questions for additional practice also. So a lot of questions, we put a lot of emphasis on practice, because we know for competitive exams like NATA and JEE, practice is the most crucial thing. And all our toppers in our previous batches have been those people who have practiced a lot from previous papers and also additional sectional tests and test series from us. So we included a lot of practice questions in the study material set. So do purchase the study material set too. Understand the basic concepts, have a authentic study resource of good quality content, and also practicing them at each and every after each and every chapter at equal intervals at each stages, practicing and understanding of putting the content you learn into perspective. It is important through the study material set. So you can place this order on the KP Classes app and it will be delivered to you at the earliest. So moving on, let me continue about the color schemes. So we studied 3 color schemes till now: complementary, analogous, split complementary. Fourth color scheme is triadic color scheme. You do get theory questions on this in NATA and JEE directly also. So it is very important that you understand each and every color scheme clearly and understand its use. So first let us look into the definition of what is triadic color scheme. It is very easy to understand what is triadic color scheme. Triadic, from the word tri itself you understand, it forms a triangle. Remember that way. Triadic is basically triangle forming or equilateral triangle forming colors. So what is triadic color scheme? It is a set of 3 colors or set of 3 equidistant colors. What is the meaning of equidistance? Equal distance. 3 colors which are equally distant. If you see over here, so this is, say, yellow orange. This is yellow orange over here, and this is violet, and this is green, right? So these 3 are equally distant with each other. So there are 3 colors between green and violet, then there are 3 colors between say yellow and orange. This is orange, right? So between violet and orange, again there are 3 colors. Between green and orange also there are 3 colors. This is yellow orange, this is just orange, right? So these 3 colors, why are they equidistant? Because between any 2 colors there are 3 more colors. Between this and this there are 3 colors. Between this and this there are 3 colors. So there are 3 colors between any 2 colors of this set. So set of 3 equidistant colors forming an equilateral triangle. If you join them, you will get an equilateral triangle. Why is it equilateral triangle? Because all the 3 are equally distant. All the 3 distances, all the 3 lengths are same. You all know in any triangle, if the 3 sides are of same length, it is called as an equilateral triangle. So set of 3 equidistant colors forming an equilateral triangle, forming an equilateral triangle. Set of 3 equidistant colors forming an equilateral triangle on a 12-part color wheel, on a 12-part color wheel. Set of 3 equidistant colors forming an equilateral triangle on a 12-part color wheel is called triadic color scheme. Triadic color scheme. So that's the definition of what is triadic color scheme. Now second point, what is its use? What is its importance? If you look into this composition, there are 3 colors over here, right? And all the 3 colors are getting equal importance, right? Nothing is standing out. So green and the background, which is red and blue. Red, green and blue, they are equally important. They are not exactly, this is not exactly blue or not exactly red. I'm just telling in general, or those say the hue of it, right? So they are equally distant with each other, so they are forming a triadic color scheme. So it is basically used where do we use this color scheme? It is used to create 3 composition with 3 colors of equal importance, right? So used to create a composition, used to create a composition with 3 equally important colors. Equally important colors. So nothing is background here. So all the 3, the background, the figure, and the other aspect of the base of the composition over here, all the 3 are getting equal importance. So because why are they getting equal importance? Because they are equally distant. So first point, equidistant colors are called as triadic color scheme because they form an equilateral triangle. Second point, they are used to create colors with equal importance, or they are used in compositions where you use 3 colors and all the 3 colors should be of equal importance. So that is basically triadic color scheme. So if you try to identify what is the triadic color scheme over here, probably it can be termed as this: violet, orange and green, right? Green is over here, violet and then orange. So that is forming the triadic color scheme, which is marked in this picture. So triadic color scheme is basically a composition with 3 equally important colors. So that is about the 4th color scheme. So we completed the first 4 important color schemes. Let us move into the 5th color scheme. 5th and 6th actually are both together. fifth and sixth together are called as tetradic color scheme. So what is tetra? Tetra is 4. You might have looked into Tetra Pak milk. What is a Tetra Pak milk which you buy in the stores? It is milk which is packed in 4 layers of packaging. Tetra is 4 basically. Tetradic color scheme is a set of 4 colors. Which 4 colors? Again, it can be of 2 types. Tetradic color scheme. So I'm writing this as 5 and 6 both. This is 5th and 6th together. 5th and 6th we are studying together. Why? 5th and 6th both are tetradic color scheme, because 5th one, there are 2 types of tetradic color schemes. You have tetradic rectangle color scheme, tetradic square color scheme. What is the meaning of tetradic color scheme? It is set of 4 colors. If those 4 colors are forming a rectangle, it is called as tetradic rectangle color scheme. If those 4 colors are all equidistant, they are forming a square, then it is called as tetradic square color scheme. So tetradic color scheme is simply a set of 4 colors. It's called as tetradic color scheme. If those 4 colors are equidistant, if you are selecting equidistant 4 colors, if you are selecting 4 colors of the color wheel which are equidistant, forming a square, it is called as tetradic square color scheme. If you are selecting 4 colors which are forming a rectangle, then it is called as tetradic rectangle color scheme. One other way to identify tetradic rectangle color scheme is also by selecting 2 sets of complementary colors. Even in this, you can identify this as 2 sets of complementary colors. Yellow and violet are complementary colors to each other. Red and say orange, and also blue, green, violet. These are also diametrically opposite complementary colors. So if you are selecting 2 sets of complementary colors, you will get tetradic colors. Tetradic rectangle also is set of 2 complementary colors diametrically opposite. Here also again set of 2 more diametrically opposite. So tetradic rectangle, tetradic square. One more additional point to remember here is they are obtained by selecting 2 sets of complementary colors. So you need to select 2 sets of complementary colors. You will get tetradic color scheme. Where do we use it? If you want 2 colors in the background, 2 colors in the figure. You can see in this composition, there are 2 colors in the background, violet and blue, both are in the background. 2 colors are used to create a background. 2 colors are used to create the figure. Some flame figure is shown which is using both yellow and also orange. So if you want 2 colors in the background, 2 colors in the figure, if you have 1 color in the background and 1 color in the figure of it, you can directly select complementary color scheme. If you're having 1 color in the background and 2 colors in the figure, then you can select split complementary color scheme. But if you have 2 colors in the background, 2 colors in the figure, so I'll write over here 2 colors in the background, and if you want 2 colors in the figure of it, then you select tetradic color scheme. If you want equal importance to everything, you can select tetradic square color scheme because they are equidistant to each other. If you don't want equal importance to everything, then you can select tetradic rectangle color scheme. So it is slightly complex and advanced compared to the other color schemes, but you can simply learn it in this way. Tetradic color scheme is a set of 4 colors which are obtained by selecting 2 sets of complementary colors. 2 sets of complementary colors. First 1 set of complementary, 1 more set of complementary, add to it. Both 4 colors together will form a tetradic color scheme. This is used if you want 2 colors in the background and 2 colors in the figure. So that is about the tetradic color scheme. So we have discussed 6 types of color schemes till now. First we studied complementary color scheme. Second we studied analogous color scheme. Third we studied split complementary color scheme. Fourth we studied triadic color scheme, which is forming an equilateral triangle. Fifth and sixth, the tetradic color scheme, which is tetradic rectangle, tetradic square color scheme. Moving on to the 7th color scheme, it is monologous colors or monochromatic colors, right? 7th color scheme is monochromatic color scheme. Monochrome is basically set of one color itself. You can see over here there are bands, monochromatic bands over here. So this is the monochromatic band of one color. Mono is single. What is the meaning of monochromatic? Monochromatic color scheme is basically a set of single color just the various levels of it, various chromes of it, right? So what is chroma brightness? Changing the brightness, lightness to very bright. You're changing the brightness of a single color, you'll get monochromatic color scheme. Monochromatic is basically a color scheme where you have a single color in different forms. It is not analogous. Analogous is three colors which are continuous on a color wheel. Here we are selecting just one color. This complete painting is obtained only from blue. Take blue, mix white into it in different levels and create the change the brightness at different point. Here it is very bright, here it is very dark. So you're changing the lightness and brightness. That is chroma, right? So if you're changing that, you will, so chroma is basically purity. I told you, if you remember, purity, how pure a color is, right? So by changing the chromes of a single color, you get monochromatic color scheme, single color used in the composition. So that is about the seventh set, that is monochromatic. How do you identify monochromatic? It will look like you're using only one color in the painting. Like this complete painting is based out of blue monochromatic color scheme. So that is about the seventh color scheme, monochromatic color scheme. That brings us to the next point. So we completed color wheel, color terminologies and color schemes. 7 color schemes we discussed. That brings us to the fourth part of the lecture, which is color psychology. For the color psychology, we'll try to understand about the perception of a color. If you look at a color, what type of feeling it will introduce psychologically in a person. That is color psychology. Like I gave you one example in the introduction. Red color psychologically will induce symbol of danger or urgency or importance, right? So that is basically, so why do we use red color to represent fire? Because it is very important that people know, okay, there's a fire hazard over here. So we use red for that. Danger, right? So something which is important, you can use red over there. So color psychology is basically what psychological impact which a color will have in any design. So that is what we mainly focus on. Let us start with the most basic point under color psychology. Let me show you an example over here. If you look into this picture, there are two compositions over here. In the first composition, there are some paper flowers made out of paper itself. The second, also in this composition also, you have few more paper flowers, but of a different color scheme. So if you try to observe the flowers which are shown, flowers which are shown in the first composition and the second composition, have a clear look at it. And if I ask you, which composition is looking like a warm composition? If I am asking you, which one looks warm? Warm as in not, it's basically a level of heat, or how hot something is, right? So which is a warm composition? Psychologically, the first composition will look like warm composition. This one looks like a cool composition. So psychologically, with respect to color theory, something which is red or orange, so those colors or those set of colors of the color wheel are called as warm colors. Blue, violet, and these set of colors are called as cool colors of a color wheel. So you can divide the 12 part, we studied about the 12 part color wheel where you have 12 different colors. You can divide it into 6 warm colors, 6 cool colors. If you cut a color wheel in the center, you will get 6 warm and 6 cool colors. So how to cut it and what are the warm and cool colors of a color wheel? Let us try to look into that. In this particular picture, you can see the 12 part color wheel. So if you cut it into 2 equal parts along red, violet and yellow, in this part you have the warm colors. This part from violet till yellow green, these are called as cool colors. So you can divide the 12 part color wheel into 6 warm colors and 6 cool colors. So psychologically, if you want to create a warmth in a composition, we use warm colors of the color composition. If you want to create a cool color scheme, of if you want a cooling effect psychologically of color composition, we use cool color scheme. So that is warm and cool colors for color scheme. Let me show you one more example to understand better. This is something which you can psychologically, everyone even without knowing can easily identify what are warm and cool colors by looking at the composition. Let me show you one more example. There are two paintings over here, two landscapes. This is a landscape with some trees and this is a landscape with a background and a bird sitting on the tree. If I ask you which of these two compositions is warm color scheme, warm color composition, say this is painting number 1 and this is say painting number 2. Comment down your answer, whatever you think. You can pause the video and comment down your answer. Let me see how many of you can answer the correct one. Which is a color composition using warm colors, painting 1 or painting 2? I think most of you have commented your answer. I hope you have commented the answer and I know most of you will for sure answer it correctly. First painting is set of warm colors and this one you're having cool color scheme in this. So this is warm colors, painting using warm colors. The second one is a painting using cool colors. So warm colors and cool colors are basically the first point which you need to understand under color psychology. In addition to this, there are many levels of color psychology. Each color has a significance on the psychological impact of which it creates on the observer. So a brief of it is shown over here. I'm not pointing out to each and every point here, but let me just tell you one example. Red, it creates a sense of excitement, creates a psychological strength, love and energy. So red creates these psychological impacts on the observer: excitement, strength, love and energy. These are the psychological effects of red. Let us see what are the psychological effects of, say, purple. It symbolizes royalty, luxury, spirituality and ambition. So how do we use it? If you are looking into, if you want, someone asks you to create a logo for a luxury brand, you can generally use purple in it, right? It will create a luxury in terms of psychology. It shows royalty. It's a symbol for royalty, right? So yellow, it shows happiness, creativity, warmth and cheer. So each color has its own significance psychologically. So this content will also be available on the KP Classes app and the free study material tab itself. I already told you how to access it. So go download the KP Classes app, go to the study material tab and have a look at it. Spend some time, have a look at each and every point and try to understand, try to put these points into your brain. What is the psychological impact of each and every color? That will really be useful not only for NATA and JEE, but it will also be useful for you in the long run when you become designers and architects, right? So that's about color psychology. One more example of color psychology of various colors and how it is used in branding is shown over here. So there are various logos. If you look into the band of blue, the logo of Dell, the logo of, say, GE, HP, Oreo, NASA, all these are blue. Walmart, IBM, all these brands are using blue color. Why? Because blue symbolizes trust, strength and dependability. So to create trust in a brand, you can use blue in that. Just you can also look into the example of Facebook. Facebook uses blue color theme because in social media it is important to create trust in the users, trust that their data, their content is not being misused. So create that trust on the user. So basically, in corporate companies, in branding, in UI user interface design, in logo design, in graphic design, these color psychological aspects are used in designing everything, including in logos of various corporate companies. So that is about color psychology part. So we discussed about the 12-part color wheel and primary, secondary, tertiary colors. Then we discussed about color terminologies like tint, tone, shade, hue, chroma, saturation, lightness, brightness. We discussed all these in the second part. Then we discussed about color schemes, various types of sets of colors. And fourthly, we completed color psychology, where we looked into warm and cool colors and also various psychological impacts of various colors. So after these 4 points, let us now move on to the next part and the most important part, that is understanding or looking into the previous NATA and JEE questions. This, as far as I think, is the most important part of the lecture, because you can learn hundreds of things, but putting them into perspective and understanding what type of questions will actually be asked in the paper, that is most important, most crucial. That's the reason I already told you earlier also in this video, we put a lot of emphasis on practice. So without any further delay, let us look into some previous NATA and also JEE questions from the content which we have discussed in today's video, so that at the end you will have some sense of accomplishment that you have learned something and are able to answer the NATA and JEE questions. Let us start with the first one. This one is a previous NATA question. I already showed you this particular question just briefly in the introduction to show you what type of questions can be asked in the paper. So this is a previous NATA question asked for 3 marks. 3 mark questions are the highest weightage questions in the NATA paper, right? So the question is, identify 4 most important visual elements of principles. 4 options have to be selected. So this is a multiple select question where you have to select 4 correct answers. You have to select 4 correct answers. Identify the 4 most important visual elements of principles in the color combination given, composition given below. Colorful combination composition is given. Let us identify the 4 correct options. I always tell this in multiple select questions, it is best to go by elimination approach. Take an option, check if it is in the picture or not. If it is not there, you can just cross it and eliminate it. So let us use this elimination approach and solve this question. Starting with the first one, highlight. Is something being highlighted in this picture, in this composition? Absolutely yes. The background is blue and there's a contrasting patch over here in the composition. There's a patch in the center, so it is a cool color background and a patch of warm colors are highlighting the center. right? So we can use warm and cool colors to create that contrast and highlight something. So this part is being highlighted. Yes, there is highlight in this composition, so A is the correct element, visual element in this composition. Second, depth. Is there a sense of visual depth here? If you remember, in the practice questions of day 1, we looked into a black and white composition where there was a sense of depth because a black patch was used in the center. Do you have such sense of depth? Is there a black patch where generally using a black patch with a lighter background will create a sense of depth? There is no such sense of depth in this composition, so B is not correct. Moving on to the next one, pattern. What is pattern? Pattern is repetitive design. So if you look into the some patterned shirts, or say you have these crockery, and also sometimes used on women dresses, you have polka dots, which are basically repetitive circles, right? So that is pattern. What is pattern? Pattern is nothing but repetitiveness in the design. Pattern is basically using a repetitive element. So is there any repetitiveness in this particular? Is there a pattern which you see? Absolutely yes, it is a grid pattern. Grid is a type of pattern, so this is a pattern is a correct answer. Why? Because in this you have that grid. What is grid? Vertical and horizontal lines. It is using a, you see a grid pattern in this composition. Next option D is grid. We just saw this is grid pattern, so grid also is a correct answer. Grid is obtained by having vertical and horizontal lines in the composition. So A, C and D are correct till now. We have to select 4 correct options. Next, looking into the E option, convergence. Convergence is lines meeting. Are there any lines meeting? All the lines meeting at one point, some various elements meeting at one point. So if you're having various elements, say petals of a flower, or say let me just draw some abstract art, something like that. This is an abstract composition. They are converging at one. Convergence is meeting at one point. So do you have any convergence in this particular composition? Are the elements meeting at one point? No, there is no convergence. Contrast. Absolutely yes, there is contrast. Cool background with a warm patch. Initially itself I told you it is being highlighted because there is contrast. Actually these are related terms, highlight and contrast, right? So whenever you answer multiple select questions, other than elimination approach, one other strategy which you can use is, if you have selected one correct option already, just see similar words in the other options. There is highlight already. When will something highlight? When there is contrast. So there are related options also. You can directly select the related options if you find them. Just like grid and pattern, they are related terms again. So if you select the correct option, just look for other options which are related to the term or similar terms. This strategy also will be very useful in many cases in answering multiple select questions correctly, because from feedback from previous students and other student community preparing for NATA exam, these are considered to be one of the most confusing type of questions, multiple select, because even if you do one error, one mistake, you will lose all your 3 marks. They are high weightage and also confusing. So you have to use these strategies, put them into practice, then you will for sure score very good marks in this part in your NATA examination. Moving on to the next option, do you find symmetry in this? If you observe carefully, the branches are not absolutely symmetrical. There is a tree, but it is not symmetrical at all. Figure ground is basically having a figure and a background, black and white generally. No, there is no such figure and ground, because the red patch is getting some importance, the blue background is getting, so within background there are 2 types again, right? So figure ground is a clear cut background and some elements on it. That is not seen over here. Distortion, is there any sense of distortion in this? Absolutely no, there is a regularity with the grid layout, so nothing is distorted. So A, C, D, F are the correct options. You have to select all the 4 correct options, all the 4 you have to select them to get complete 3 marks. Sometimes there can be 5 correct answers also. You can select any 4 correct from those 5, but here the options itself are 4 correct options. You have to select all the 4 correctly to get your 3 marks in the exam. So these type of multiple select questions will be asked in the paper, and be prepared with. Try to the strategies which I'm helping you over here, like elimination approach, similar options approach. Use these approach in your practice and apply them in the actual examination as well. Let us move on to the next question. Again, this is a previous NATA question. Let us look into this. The given painting belongs to distigil. Distigil is a type of is a style in architecture and artwork and furniture design, right? So the given painting belongs to distigil, meaning the style. The meaning of distigil is basically a Dutch art form which literally translates to the style. a modern art movement developed in Netherlands in the early 20th century. The art movement influenced modern architecture. It influenced modern architecture as well. Choose the correct interior image that belongs to de-Stigel style. So this is the given painting of the de-Stigel style. They gave four options of interior images. Interior as in inside a house or a space. Which interior option is de-Stigel style, they are asking. So even if you don't know what is de-Stigel style, you have to analyze the given painting. What do you see? What are the features you see in the given painting? You see basically vertical and horizontal lines, basically perpendicular lines, perpendicular straight lines, perpendicular straight lines, vertical, horizontal, perpendicularly intersecting lines. They show a sense of regularity. So there is no randomness here. There is regularity. Every grid layout or say vertical and horizontal lines, there is regularity. That is one characteristic which can be identified in the given question figure. This is a question figure, right? Second thing, this is not option, this is a question figure. These four are the options, right? Second important characteristic which you can identify in the given question figure is the colors used. If you observe carefully, what are the colors used here? Red, yellow and blue. From color theory, you already know what is red, yellow and blue. What are these three colors called as? These three are the primary colors. So in this particular style, you have primary colors used. So these are the 2 points which you need to know about de-Stigel style. You need not know even before going to the exam. They gave the picture. From the picture, you just need to identify the characteristics. From the given figure, we have decoded the figure and understood that the characteristics of de-Stigel style are regularity, using perpendicular lines and use of primary colors. Let us try to look into the options. Now the correct answer, the correct option figure will be a figure which will have primary colors and a figure which will have regularity with vertical and horizontal grid lines. So let us look into the first option. Do you have primary colors in that? Absolutely no. You can directly eliminate option number A. Option B, yes, it has primary colors and black. Primary colors and also black. Right? Even here you have primary colors and black lines. Do you have primary colors and black? Yes, there is red carpet, blue chair. So there are primary colors and some yellow part you can see over here. So there are primary colors and black. So this is a correct, this is one possibility. B. C, yes, it has red, blue, so primary colors and also black lines. So C also is a possibility. B and C are possibilities here. Option D, no, this is not primary colors. So option D can be eliminated. So by looking at one particular aspect, that using primary colors and black, by checking that point, we eliminated two incorrect options. We are left out with B and C. Which one is correct from B and C? Let us try to move into further details and see, because this is a multiple choice question. So only one correct answer is in this question, right? Let us select the correct option from B and C. In C, if you see, the chairs are laid out at an angle. There is no regularity. There are no vertical and horizontal lines completely, because the space is not rectilinear. Here in the second one, everything is like horizontal and vertical, properly aligned. So B will become the correct answer for this question. Why? Because it has both the points. It has regularity by using perpendicularly intersecting lines, and it also has primary colors along with black. So B will be the correct option. So that's how you need to answer such color based questions in the NATA examination. So these will not be very simple. You need to properly analyze and then answer the question. Let us look into one more important question, previous NATA question. Easy question and also very important. This is a combination of color and also logo based question. We will, however, in the next day, day 3, will study important logos. How to study, how to learn, you will understand better. But for now, let us focus on the color part of it. This question is based on color scheme. So the question here is NATA question. What is the color scheme used in the given logo of food brand? You know, Burger King is a food brand. In this logo of food brand, what color scheme is used? What are the colors here? You have red, yellow and blue. Red, yellow and blue are the three colors used in the logo of Burger King. Now what is red, yellow and blue? These are set of primary colors. Do you have primary colors in the options? Let us see the options once. Secondary color scheme, obviously no, not secondary color scheme, because these are primary colors, red, yellow and blue. Second option, analogous color scheme. On a 12-part color wheel, what are analogous colors? 3 continuous colors. Do you find red, yellow, blue continuously on a color wheel? Are there similar colors continuously on a color wheel? Absolutely no. Analogous color scheme also is incorrect, because analogous colors are similar colors which are continuous on a color wheel, right? We studied already under color scheme. Next option is split complementary. What is split complementary? Select a color and two of its complementaries, splitting the opposite complementary. Do you find red, yellow, blue forming a split complementary color scheme? No, that is also incorrect. Triadic color scheme. On a color wheel, if you see red, yellow, blue, are they equidistantly placed? Absolutely yes. The three primaries on a color wheel are placed at equal distances. Between any two primaries, there will be three more colors, one secondary and two tertiaries. Between any two primaries, you will have one secondary and two tertiaries. Between any two primaries, you will have a secondary and two tertiaries. So between any two primary colors, say this is a primary, and I asked you to do this exercise of drawing the color wheel. This is the reason. When you draw it yourself, you will remember very well that these three colors form a primary, these three primary colors form an equilateral triangle, and between any two primaries there is one secondary and two tertiary colors. So that's the rule in a 12-part color wheel. And they are equidistant colors, and set of three equidistant colors are called as triadic color scheme. So option D will be the correct answer here. If in the options you would have had primary colors, that also could be a correct answer. But here in the options you have secondary color scheme. This is not secondary. What are secondary colors? Green, orange, violet. Do you find green, orange, violet here? No. Right? So this is how you need to answer the question carefully. Remember the 12-part color wheel. Make sure you practice it after this video. Draw it on a piece of paper using acrylic or poster colors, whichever you have availability with. So that is about the previous NATA question. Let us look into a few more questions, but before that, let me briefly tell you about the various resources, various ways you can prepare with us. If you're preparing for NATA and JEE examination, and if you want a regimented course, a very well planned structured course, if you're serious about architecture preparation, you should consider joining our live online class program or physical class program. So basically you can join our classroom program. This is just a recorded lecture where we put out each topic in 1 hour, 1.5 hours on the YouTube. But if you join into our lecture series, into our classroom program, we will deal with each and every topic in detail and learn everything which is important and have a lot of practice more than what we do in these YouTube videos. We cover everything here also, but in a brief manner. But you can join a lecture series in a well-planned manner. Each and every week we will complete a topic, do its practice. So you will have a lot of time and it will be a guided preparation. So if you want that guided preparation, you can join a classroom program. To enroll into a coaching program, you can directly contact us through the app, or you can also contact on the number given in the description of this video. In the description of this video, you will find our office contact number. Just dial onto this number and our counselors will be ready to help you through the preparation for NATA and JEE. So join into our classroom program. If you are, if you don't, so the classroom program and the lecture series will be a very well planned one. You generally will be having classes on the weekend, so that it will not interfere with your school days and all. So you can, along with your school, it will be very much possible. Many of our school students are actually school going students, so it is very much possible to handle both school and your, if you're preparing for some other exams, like say if you're also preparing for JEE mains, JEE paper 1, along with that on the weekends you can prepare for architecture as well. That is also very much possible. Other than that, you can also access our recorded program, recorded lecture series, where you have all the content available on the mobile app, where you can watch the lectures whenever you have time on the mobile app itself. You can also focus on practice. If you're having enough practice from the YouTube lecture series, if you have purchased that study material already, which I told you about, 8 set of books, and if you are doing your self study, that is also very much fine. You can do your self preparation, but in self preparation it is very important to have focus on practice. So you can purchase our test series. If you're preparing only for NATA, you can purchase NATA test series. If you're preparing for both NATA and JEE, you can purchase NATA and JEE test series. In the test series, you will have solved papers of previous NATA and JEE questions, so in the form of test. So you can answer the questions at the end. The best thing of a test series is the portal where you can analyze your performance, what type of mistakes you have done, what is the correct explanation, why did you go wrong. So you can analyze your test very well after writing the test. Not only previous tests, there are additional mock tests and sectional tests, topic wise tests also in the test series. So you can purchase our test series, and you can also, one more important value addition can be the guide. We also have a full guide book which will cover the entire syllabus in one single book. It will be a very crisp notebook where you cover everything in a short manner. So we have a lot of premium quality content available on app and also in the form of printed books. So access our resources. To have any further guidance with respect to any of our resources, you can contact the number given in the description of this video and a counselor will connect with you. So that was a brief on how we make you prepare. Few more practice questions. Let us complete the remaining practice questions also. This again is a previous NATA question. Identify the hues given below which fit into the row 4, 6 and 7. So they gave a various hues are shown in the form of a series. You have to identify the missing hues. These three are missing. Let us try to identify. Best way again would be by process of elimination. You see this is very pure or say dark. It is getting lighter and lighter. So at the end obviously, so this is very dark. So the remaining three options will be lighter than the top one. So you can directly eliminate P because it is not very light. It is just like the top band. And you can also eliminate S because that also is not light. So you can eliminate directly P and S. The correct options will be Q, R and T. T, Q and R basically. T, Q and R is the correct answer. T, then comes Q, and finally you have the lightest one, that is R. So just eliminate the dark ones and you will get your answer directly. So you can also see the same trend is being followed. This is brighter, it gets lighter, and finally R is the lightest, right? So you just need to look into the trend and then select the correct options based on it. So this is an observation based question. Moving further, there are 6 more practice questions and we'll end the session with that. So this question, this was asked in this was asked in NATA 2017, NATA 2016, and also in JEE 2014. So it was the same question asked 3 times in last few years itself. So let us look into the question. What secondary color is obtained by mixing blue and red? I hope you know by mixing blue and red you get violet, or which is also called as purple. So violet or purple, purple is in the options. Fourth option is the correct answer. How do you get orange? By mixing red and yellow. So this is red plus yellow, orange, right? So the remaining are not secondary colors. Purple is a secondary color which is obtained by mixing blue and red. So fourth is the correct option. Next one, which is true? Let us go statement by statement, identify the true statement. Blue is a primary color. Is it true? Absolutely yes. First statement itself is true. So 1 is the correct answer. What are the 3 primary colors? Red, yellow and blue. These are the 3 primary colors of the color wheel. Next question. Which is not a secondary color? So you see, identifying those sets, primary, secondary and tertiary, if you have full understanding of these points, you can easily get your marks in this part. Which is not a secondary color? This was asked in NATA 2014. Which is not a secondary color? Orange, it is a secondary color. Violet, it is a secondary color. Pink is not a secondary color, right? So option 3 is the answer. Green is a secondary color again. So you should know what are the 3 secondary colors. So third option is the answer for this question. Next question, this was asked in NATA 2014 again on color theory. Which color would be generally used in exterior to keep interior cool? If you want inside the building to be cool, what color should you use outside? Now, how can you maintain cool environments, cool interiors? By reflecting the solar radiation. How do you get heat into the interior? From sun's radiation. So when solar radiation falls on the building, that should reflect away. That's when it will be cool. You all know that black absorbs a lot of heat, white reflects the radiation. So white will be the appropriate color to maintain cool environment. Even if you know, in summers, in most of the places in India, in summers we paint white color on top of the terrace, which is called as cool paint. Why? If you apply that white paint, radiation will reflect and the interior will be cool. So third option is the correct answer. Over here, if you see, actually blue also is in the options. Blue can also be an appropriate answer, but the most correct answer over here will be white. Blue also can reflect radiation, but white is very effective in reflecting the radiation. Next question. Which among the following represent danger? We already discussed that under color psychology. We also discussed it in the introduction. Which color represents danger? Obviously red color represents danger. Third option. Last question for practice. Interior of any room. This is very important also. This was asked in JEE 2016. This is a JEE question. This also is JEE question. Interior of any room will appear larger. Interior of any room will appear larger when painted with which color? Blue, black, white, grey. Interior looks, when do you feel a space is large? When it is filled with light. If something is dark, it will look like it is a small box. If you're filling it with light, it feels like it is very large. If you go into shopping malls, or if you go into shops as well, a sweet shop or any shop for that matter, jewelry stores, they create bright interiors with filled with light. When can you get light filled interiors? When you're using white. So the third option will be the white color. If you're painting all the walls white, the space will look larger. If you paint all the walls black, it will look like a small space. So in today's lecture, we understood all the important terms and aspects and concepts of color theory and its application. So we also practice NATA and JEE questions. So you can get such theory questions in JEE as well. One more step, that is how to apply these, how to apply and create painting using these compositions. You will learn that in the later on module of sketching and composition, which will be important for your sketching based questions of JEE. But as far as content concept based questions are considered, we have completed in this day 2 lecture. I hope it was helpful for you. I sincerely think that you consider, take guidance from us from other resources as well. Thank you, and we'll meet very soon in the next lecture. Bye everyone.